3 weeks after she left, the electricity went out. He still had her number memorized. The jar on the kitchen counter held $1,100. Sable McCrae counted it every Sunday, folding the bills face up, snapping a rubber band twice around each stack. She had done this since she was 22, back when the jar was a pickle jar, and the bills were singles from a hostess job on Route 9. Donovan Reece had lived in her apartment for 14 months and never once asked where the money came from. He walked past it every morning on his way to the coffee maker. It sat 6 inches from his elbow. He told people he was a freelance graphic designer. That part was true, the way a library card makes someone a scholar. Donovan had a portfolio site that loaded to a spinning wheel and 3 clients who had stopped returning emails in March. He spent most days adjusting kerning on mock projects he would never send. The desk held 2 monitors and a rotating collection of takeout containers that he stacked rather than discarded. The overhead light buzzed at a frequency he had stopped hearing months ago. Sable paid the rent. She paid the electric bill. She paid the internet bill that Donovan called a business expense. She bought groceries on Sundays, cooked 5 days of meals in labeled containers. How was horned a for sirs or slaughter, and left his stack on the second shelf of the refrigerator where he could reach it without bending. She labeled each container with the day and a note about reheating time. It had simply started and never stopped. She did not resent it. Not at first. Donovan had a way of framing his situation as temporary. Next month, the freelance site would launch. Next quarter, the agency would call back. He said it with the confidence of a man who had never been forced to count the days between paychecks, and Sable, who had been counting since she was 17, mistook his certainty for direction. She had grown up in a house where promises about money always came in the future tense. With Donovan, she missed the difference between someone building towards something and someone just talking. His voice was steady, and steady had always been enough. 14 months. She calculated it once on a Tuesday night while Donovan slept. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Rent, utilities, groceries, the internet bill he insisted on upgrading. She did not include the times she covered his phone plan, or the parking ticket he forgot in the glove box. Even the conservative number came to $9,400. She wrote it on a piece of paper, looked at it, and folded it into quarters. The comment happened on a Saturday. They were at a cafe on Vestry Street, the one with tall windows that caught the afternoon light, and a chalkboard menu nobody had updated since November. Donovan's college friend Connor Osby had joined them. Connor sold refurbished phones at weekend markets and spoke exclusively in hypotheticals. He was telling Donovan about a screen repair deal that would definitely clear $2,000 by the end of the month. His hands moved while he talked. Sable held her mug with both hands and watched the steam curl toward the ceiling. Sable was quiet. She was often quiet around Connor because Connor filled every silence himself. He asked Donovan if he needed anything for the apartment. Donovan laughed and tilted his head towards Sable. "Don't worry about me," he said. "I've got my little gold digger covering it." He said it loose and rehearsed, as though the words belonged to the air and not to the woman sitting across from him. Connor laughed. Donovan laughed. The sound bounced off the tall windows. The words sat in the air between the 3 of them like a glass someone had knocked off the table that had not yet hit the floor. Sable's fingers tightened around the mug handle. The ceramic was still warm. Sable did not raise her voice. She did not correct him. She set her mug down, aligned the handle with the edge of the table, and said she needed to get home to start meal prep. Her coat was already on, a detail neither man had noticed. Donovan barely looked up. She walked home, 12 blocks. She did not call anyone. She did not cry. The late afternoon light threw long shadows from the parking meters. She opened the apartment door, stood in the kitchen, and looked at the meal prep calendar on the refrigerator. 8 weeks planned out. His meals color-coded in blue, hers in green. The blue outnumbered the green because he ate larger portions and she had adjusted without telling him. She pulled the blue tabs off one by one, folded them, dropped them into the trash can under the sink. The tabs made no sound as they fell. When the last one was gone, the calendar looked sparse, half empty, like a mouth missing teeth. Then she opened her laptop and searched for 1-bedroom apartments within 2 miles of her office. She did not tell Donovan that night. He came home at 11, smelling like the IPA Connor always ordered, and fell asleep on top of the covers with his shoes still on. Sable untied them, set them by the door with the laces tucked inside, and went to sleep on her side of the bed for the last time. The streetlight outside the window cast a pale stripe across the ceiling. She lay still and watched it. Monday morning, she signed a lease on a studio 3 blocks from the Water Authority building where she worked. First month in deposit paid from the jar. The landlord processed the paperwork without small talk. She asked if Sable needed help moving. Sable said she would not need much. The studio had a south-facing window. The the same orientation as the apartment she was leaving. She moved on a Wednesday while Donovan was at Connor's place testing a batch of refurbished phones. She took her clothes, her books, her kitchen equipment, the meal prep containers, the spice rack, and the jar. She left the furniture. She left the internet router he called a business expense. She left a single sticky note on the refrigerator that read, "Lease is in your name. Rent is due on the 1st. She pressed it flat with her thumb before she closed the door. She did not text him. She did not leave a voicemail. The sticky note said everything that mattered, 12 words on a 2-inch square of paper, and none of them were an explanation. Donovan Reece came home at 4 in the afternoon to an apartment that had been subtracted. The furniture was there. The bed was there, but everything that made the place livable had vanished. No food in the fridge, no spice rack, no containers stacked in careful rows. No Sable. The air smelled different, neutral, like a hotel room between guests. He read the sticky note 3 times. He opened every cabinet. He checked the closet. Her side was hollow, empty hangers swinging slightly from the draft of the open door. The wire hangers clinked against each other, a sound he had never noticed before because there had always been clothes to muffle it. He sat on the edge of the bed and called her. The phone rang 5 times and went to voicemail. He texted her 4 times that night. The first message said, "Where are you?" The second said, "This isn't funny." The third said, "I know you're upset, but we can talk about this." The fourth, sent at 2 in the morning with the apartment dark around him, said, "Please." The message delivered. The read receipt never came. Sable read the messages. She did not reply. She was sitting in her new studio, eating a meal she had prepped that afternoon, reading a compliance report on her laptop. The studio was small and quiet and entirely hers. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator, a different pitch than the one in the old apartment, lower and steadier. The first bill arrived 6 days later. Donovan had never seen a utility bill before. He had never held the envelope, never read the fine print about late fees and disconnection timelines. Sable had always handled them through autopay linked to her checking account. Now the autopay was gone, and the bill was addressed to the apartment, and the apartment was in his name. $214 for electricity. He stared at the number like it was written in a language he had not studied. He turned the bill over, as if the back might offer a different total. His checking account had $311. Rent was due in 9 days. He called Connor. Connor said that was rough, man. The way he said everything was rough, with practiced sympathy that never converted into action. Connor said he could maybe lend $200 by the end of the month, but the phone batch had not sold as fast as projected. Connor spoke in the future tense about money the way he always did, as though cash were a weather system that would eventually arrive. Donovan tried his 3 former clients. The first did not answer. The second said they had gone with a firm and hung up before he could pitch an alternative. The third said they had a small project, maybe $40 for a social media banner, and could he have it done by Friday? He said yes before the sentence was finished. He made the banner. It took him 5 hours because his design software license had expired, and Sable was no longer there to split the subscription. He used a free trial with a watermark he had to crop around and export it at reduced resolution. The client paid $35, not $40. Processing fee. He did not negotiate. Rent was $1,200. Donovan looked at his account balance. $287. He sat on the edge of the bed with the phone in both hands. The gap between what he had and what he owed was so wide it did not feel like a number. It felt like geography. He texted Sable again. This time the message was longer. He said he was sorry for what he said at the cafe. He said he didn't mean it. He said the word gold digger was a joke and Connor had started it. He asked if she could help with rent just this month, while he got his freelance pipeline stabilized. He reread the message twice before sending. He noticed after it sent that the word pipeline sounded exactly like the kind of word she would have seen through. Sable read the message while watering a plant she had bought for her new windowsill. A small fern in a ceramic pot, the first living thing she had purchased for the studio. She read it a second time. Then she set the phone down and finished watering the plant. She did not respond for 48 hours. When she did reply, the message was 6 words. "The lease is in your name." She typed it, read it once, and pressed send. The period at the end was deliberate. Jules Arnetti, retired art teacher in 4A, noticed the change. She had known Sable for 2 years, watched her carry grocery bags up the stairs every Sunday, always enough for 2. The bags had been heavy, handles cutting into her fingers. Now Sable carried less and climbed the stairs to a different building. Jules ran into her at the corner bodega and asked, without preamble, if she was safe. Sable said she was. Her voice was even, but something in her posture had loosened. Jules did not push. She handed Sable a flyer for a tenant meeting, touched her arm once, and walked away. Jules had been a teacher for 31 years. She knew when someone had already made their decision. Donovan's second month alone was worse than the first. The electricity bill arrived again, higher this time because he had been leaving every light on as though brightness could fill the space. The internet bill arrived, the one he had insisted on upgrading. A late fee from the previous month's rent sat at the top of the pile like a headstone. He stacked the envelopes on the counter in the spot where the jar had been. He sold the second monitor. That covered the late fee. He sold the design tablet, still in its original packaging. That covered half the electricity. He kept the laptop because without it he had no way to earn the $35 banner jobs that were the only work answering his emails. The desk looked like a table in a vacant apartment. Connor came by with a six-pack and said they should brainstorm. Brainstorm meant Connor talked for 2 hours about a phone-flipping app he was going to build while Donovan stared at the wall behind his head. The wall had a nail hole where a framed print used to hang. Connor did not mention money. Connor did not offer to help with rent. Connor left 3 empty cans on the counter and said he would text. Donovan texted Sable again. He dropped the words sorry. This time he skipped straight to the number. He needed $800 by Friday or the landlord would start the eviction filing. His thumb hovered over the send button for less than a second. Need had replaced hesitation. Sable did not respond. She was at her desk at the Municipal Water Authority, reviewing discharge permits. Her phone buzzed in the drawer. She let it buzz. The drawer muffled it the way distance muffles everything. She turned a page, made a note in the margin with a red pen, and kept reading. The eviction notice arrived on a Tuesday. Donovan unfolded it in the hallway, standing under the dim overhead light, beside the row of brass mailboxes with peeling labels. The paper was heavy, legal weight, thicker than the utility bills. The notice gave him 30 days. He read the number twice and counted backward on his fingers. He called his mother for the first time in 6 months. She picked up on the 4th ring, her voice carrying the careful brightness of someone surprised to hear from a person they have stopped expecting to call. She asked him how work was going. He said fine. She asked about Sable. He said fine. He did not ask for money. He hung up and stared at his reflection in the blank wall space where the second monitor used to be. Sable, meanwhile, had been promoted. Not dramatically. A lateral move with a title change and an 11% raise. Her supervisor cited her compliance audit record. 0 missed filings in 3 years. The raise was $460 a month, enough to cover a studio and still refill the jar. She signed the acceptance letter at her desk during lunch and ate her meal prep container afterward as though nothing had changed. She bought a small desk for her studio. Particle board with a veneer finish, nothing expensive, but it fit against the wall beside the window. She started a compliance review side consulting practice. 2 clients in the first month, both small water utilities in neighboring counties who had seen her work. She charged by the audit. She deposited every check the day it arrived. Donovan's 30 days ran out. He packed 2 suitcases and called Connor, who said he could stay for a week, maybe 2, while he figured things out. Connor's apartment was a studio above a dry cleaner. The chemical smell seeped through the floor, sharp and sweet, and settled into every fabric in the room. A week at Connor's became 2. 2 became 3. Connor started leaving the apartment earlier and coming back later. The folding table with refurbished phones migrated from the living room to Connor's bedroom behind a closed door. Small territories drawn with furniture instead of words. Donovan heard the latch click shut each morning and understood the sound for what it was. Donovan texted Sable one more time. The message was different. No apology. No number. Just 7 words typed in a dark room. I don't know what to do. Sable read it while brushing her teeth. She looked at herself in the bathroom mirror, toothbrush still in her mouth, phone in her left hand. She thought about the jar. She thought about the $9,400. She thought about the word gold digger, and how Donovan had said it without flinching, like it was a lyric he already knew. The faucet ran. The mirror fogged at the edges. She put the phone down on the edge of the sink. She finished brushing her teeth. She went to bed. In the morning, the message was still there, still unanswered, and she left it that way. The phone sat on the nightstand all day, the screen dark, the notification badge a small red circle that no one saw. Donovan picked up a shift at a print shop Connor knew, cash under the table, loading paper stock and running the binding machine. It paid $14 an hour. His hands, which had spent years pushing pixels across screens, now carried 60-pound boxes of cardstock from a loading dock to a back room that smelled like toner and machine oil. By the end of the first shift, his lower back ached in a way that was entirely new. It was honest work. That was the strange part. After 14 months of adjusting kerning on imaginary projects, the print shop was the first place Donovan had been where the output was tangible. Paper came in, bound documents went out, No pitches, no future tense, just the machine and the clock, and the clean satisfaction of a stack that was taller at 5 p.m. than it had been at 9. 3 months after Sable left, Donovan had not rebuilt his freelance career, but he had paid Connor back the $200 in cash, folded into an envelope he left on the counter without a note. He had moved from the air mattress in Connor's studio to a room in a shared house near the print shop. His room had a window, a bed, and a lock on the door. It cost $600 a month. He could cover it. He still designed sometimes. Late at night, after the print shop shift, he opened his laptop and worked on the portfolio site that had been loading to a spinning wheel for 2 years. He rebuilt it from scratch. No templates, no mock projects. Just the 3 real pieces of work he had actually completed for actual clients who had actually paid. The site loaded in under 2 seconds. Connor called to say he had a lead. A friend of a friend needed a brand refresh. Real client, real budget, $2,500. Connor said Donovan should pitch it. Donovan said he would think about it. He did not say yes immediately, and the silence on the line lasted long enough that Connor asked if he was still there. He did think about it. He sat with it for 2 days, turning the opportunity over during print shop shifts. Then he opened his laptop, wrote an honest pitch email that included his rate, his timeline, and the 3 portfolio pieces. No jargon, no future tense. He sent it at 10 p.m. from his room in the shared house and closed the laptop without checking for a reply. The client replied in the morning. They liked the portfolio. They asked for a meeting. Donovan agreed, then spent 40 minutes staring at his closet, which now contained 2 hoodies and a collared shirt he had bought at a thrift store the week before, still with the tag on. He cut the tag off with kitchen scissors. The shirt was a half size too big, but it was clean and it was his. The meeting went well. He got the project, $2,500, half up front, half on delivery. He deposited the first check at a bank branch near the print shop and stared at the receipt, $1,561, more money than he had held in 6 months. He folded the receipt and put it in his wallet where a business card used to sit. He stood on the sidewalk outside the bank for a full minute, holding the wallet. He did not text Sable. For the first time since she left, the impulse did not arrive. He noticed its absence the way you notice a sound that has stopped. Sable's consulting practice had grown. 4 clients now. She had a separate checking account for the business and a spreadsheet that tracked every hour billed to the quarter. On Thursday evening, she updated it while eating dinner. The jar on the shelf held $2,200. She had not needed to dip into it once. The rubber bands around the stacks were the same ones from the old apartment, reused because they still held. Jules Arnetti saw her at the bodega again. This time Sable was buying flowers, a small bunch of yellow chrysanthemums that she held loosely at her side. The stems dripped slightly onto the tile floor. Jules smiled and said nothing about the flowers. She asked if Sable was coming to the tenant meeting on Thursday. Sable said she was not a tenant anymore. Jules said the meetings were open to friends. 6 months after she left, Sable received a letter. Not a text. A letter, handwritten, in a plain white envelope, with no return address. She recognized the handwriting. She had seen it on 100 sticky notes left on the counter asking her to buy more coffee filters. The loops on the lowercase letters were the same. She carried it upstairs without opening it. She opened it at the kitchen table. The letter was 1 page. Front only. No greeting, no signature block. The handwriting was neater than the sticky notes, deliberate, the penmanship of someone who had taken time. It said, "I called you a gold digger in front of someone who laughed because I made him laugh. You were the one paying for the coffee we were drinking. I did not see it then. I see it now. I am not asking for anything. I am telling you what I should have said at that table." She read it twice. She set it on the table. She did not fold it back into the envelope. She left it there open, flat against the wood grain, and went to water the plant on the windowsill. The chrysanthemums from the bodega sat in a glass beside it, petals just starting to brown at the edges. The evening light came through low and caught the edge of the letter behind her. She did not write back. The pen on the table stayed where it was, cap on, untouched. Some silences are the answer. Donovan finished the brand refresh project on deadline. The client was pleased. They referred him to a second business, a local bakery that needed a full visual identity package. He quoted $3,500. They accepted without negotiation. He started the work the next morning, on the floor of his room in the shared house, laptop balanced on a box of cardstock he had taken home from the print shop as a makeshift desk. He worked with what was real. He told Connor he was moving out of the shared house by the end of the month. Connor said, "Nice, man." Connor asked if Donovan needed help with the move. Donovan said he had 2 suitcases and a laptop. He did not need help. He needed less to carry. He found a studio of his own, not in Sable's neighborhood. Not near the old apartment, a different part of the city entirely. Near the print shop where he still picked up occasional shifts when the freelance pipeline went quiet. The studio was smaller than anywhere he had ever lived. He signed the lease with his own name and his own deposit and his own first month's rent. He set up the laptop on a folding table. He taped his 3 client testimonials to the wall above it. He did not hang any photos. The only personal item he placed was a coffee mug he had bought at the thrift store. White, unchipped, no text, nothing borrowed. He filled it with water from the tap and drank it standing at the window. 8 months after the cafe on Vestry Street, Sable McCrae walked past the old apartment building. She was not looking for it. Her route to the bodega had changed when she moved, and this was a shortcut she had forgotten existed. She glanced up at the 4th floor window. The light was on, but different curtains hung in the frame. Someone new lived there. The buzzers by the front door still had the same peeling labels. Her name was no longer on any of them. She did not stop. She kept walking. The bodega was 2 blocks further, and Jules had texted about a new brand of tea that Sable needed to try. The evening was warm. The street lights were just flickering on one by one, each one casting a pool of amber on the pavement. She carried nothing she could not set down. Donovan Reece never apologized to her face. The letter was the closest he came, and by the time he wrote it, the apology was not a door handle, but a period at the end of a sentence. He did not ask to be let back in. He had finally understood that the apartment, the meals, the bills, the jar, the 700 Sundays of grocery bags carried up 4 flights of stairs. None of it was gold. It was labor, and he had called it something ugly while sitting in the chair it paid for. The understanding arrived slowly over months, in a print shop and a shared house, and a room he rented with money he earned himself. Sable never counted what she spent on Donovan again. She had done the math once, on that Tuesday night, and the number had served its purpose. It told her the weight of what she was carrying. Once she set it down, the number stopped mattering. The jar on her shelf was not a trophy. It was not a grudge kept in glass. It was proof that the system worked when only one person was building it. Connor Osby is still selling phones from a folding table. The app he mentioned never materialized. He texts Donovan occasionally, but the conversations are shorter now. Donovan responds. He does not make plans. Some friendships survive honesty. Others survive distance. Connor survived because Donovan stopped expecting it to be anything other than what it was. Jules Arnetti still runs the hallway bulletin board. She still remembers every tenant's birthday. When someone new moves into 4B, the apartment Sable used to share with Donovan, Jules brings them a flyer for the tenant meeting and holds eye contact a beat longer than most people expect. She does not mention the previous tenants. Buildings remember, people choose. The cafe on Vestry Street is still there. Same chalkboard menu nobody updates. Same afternoon light through the tall windows. If you sit at the table by the west wall, you can see the exact spot where Donovan Reece called the woman who paid for his coffee a gold digger and laughed because his friend laughed. The table has been wiped clean 1,000 times since. The chair has held other people. The light has come and gone and come again. Nothing in the room kept a record. Sable McCrae still counts the jar every Sunday. She folds the bills face up and snaps the rubber band twice. She does it at her own table, in her own kitchen, in the apartment she chose after someone called her the wrong name for loving carefully. The jar is not savings. It is not an emergency fund. It is not a monument to what was taken. It is the sound of a woman who paid for everything once and decided the only thing she owed herself was the door. She finishes counting. She puts the jar back on the shelf, where it catches the morning light the way it always has in every kitchen, since she was 22. She closes her eyes for 1 second, and when she opens them, the morning light has shifted an inch across the table. She does not look at her phone. She does not think about the letter in the drawer. She picks up her keys, locks the door behind her, and walks to work. The hallway is quiet. The street is already warm.